Welcome to all our listeners. For our podcast today, we call Veterans Never Stop Serving. We're privileged to have you listen in today as we highlight another of our post 9/11 wounded and injured veterans who has graduated from the Sentinels of Freedom Bridge to Education program. Today, we're honored to have Sergeant Major Chuck, United States Army Special Operations, retired, as our guest speaker. Chuck, welcome to Veterans Never Stop Serving. Your story is truly inspiring. You've had multiple deployments to war and were severely injured resulting in an amputation of your leg in 2005. After you medically retired, you graduated from the Sentinels of Freedom Bridge for Education Scholarship Program in 2017. So with all that said, bring us and our listeners up to speed on your journey, your service and transition, what you're doing now, and what your future plans and goals are.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. I'm originally from California. I grew up in San Jose. Back in graduated in '88. I was an Eagle Scout. I had a little brother who eventually went on to Portland State, but I joined the military in 1989 with a Ranger contract. Went to the 2nd Range Battalion after all of my training, Fort Benning, Airborne School, and RIP. And then I was in Fort Lewis for approximately 4 years with SECO 275. And then I became a RIP instructor in Fort Benning for approximately a year, where while I was there, I was asked to go to a selection process where I passed. And luckily I got to spend the rest of my career in Fort Bragg, North Carolina.
What year was your RIP time?
As an instructor, it was from 94 to 95.
Okay, got it. Wow.
Mm-hmm. So it was still RIP then. It's now RAS, but 3 weeks of controlled hazing to get everybody up to speed to be good Rangers when they went to the Ranger Battalion, where they eventually, if you were good enough and you could meet all the standards there, you could go to Ranger School and eventually be a junior NCO in the Ranger Battalion, which I was lucky enough to do.
Yeah, my 3 sons went through that whole process, So I kind of have a little knowledge of where you were and what you were doing. They didn't get there. The first one got there in 98 and the next one 2000, the next one 2004, I believe. So it was kind of unique to have all 3 sons serving at the same time at the same base in the same regiment. It was a lot of fun to go visit them. So,
I bet.
So you ended up at Fort Bragg in SF?
And a special missions unit there.
Okay. Right.
So while I was in there in the special missions unit, I had to go back and become a Green Beret and go through the Q course so that I could be competitive in my rank and grade. In order for me to get promoted at that time, I had to be an SF guy. So I couldn't just be a Ranger in a special forces type of unit. So I was lucky enough to go back and spend 6 months of my life getting my Green Beret. So I tell people that I was in special forces. I was a Green Beret, but I wasn't in special forces by textbook, but I was in a special forces type of mission.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Good. And I love Fort Bragg and Fort Benning. I really like to visit there. And they've been upgraded so much since we first started going there in 98. It's amazing. All right. So let's see, I think we helped you get into the HERO program or supported you through that. That started you down the path to where you are today. And you're working for Homeland Security?
I work for CID, actually.
CID. Okay.
Yep. So Criminal Investigations Division, doing the same type of work. So I do the primarily counter child exploitation type of stuff. So child pedophile, child pornography type of stuff. It's primarily my unfortunate client is the Army. And so I support some of the Carolinas region. So whether it's Fort Stewart, lucky enough to be the 1st Ranger Battalion guys, and Fort Bragg and Fort Jackson and Fort Gordon. So,
and you're at Fort Bragg now? That's where you live?
I'm currently in Fort Bragg.
Yeah. So my son Kurt is the command sergeant major of the 44th Medical Brigade over there. So stop in and say hello to him when you get a chance. I'm sure he'd like to meet you. But yeah, it's a long journey from injury to the hospital stay and, getting your leg right and prosthetics and all those things. And then getting back home. That transition is tough when you get back home because you don't have a network anymore and you got to rebuild that. And you were very successful at doing that. I'm sure you had some bumps along the way, but kind of tell us about that journey.
Well, I got wounded in 05, like you said. Because of where I came from, the unit that I came from, I had a very supportive infrastructure when it came to injured soldiers from my unit. So we had a not just the FRG family readiness group type of thing where a bunch of wives were together. We had a whole medical contingent of physical therapists and doctors that could take care of me back at home base here in Fort Bragg. So I only spent about 9 weeks in Walter Reed, where I was able to check off the blocks that I needed to get back home to where I could be taken care of by my own people. And then I got to stay in. I actually redeployed back to Iraq 4 more times with one leg and was able to stay with my element and be able to slowly pull myself out of the fight on my own accord. And, with just slowly pull it out. So I didn't have to get that shock, that culture shock of being completely removed out of the Army. I stayed in for another 8 more years. I was promoted to a sergeant major. So I was an E8 when I got hurt, promotable. And so I was still able to go to the sergeant major academy with one leg because of just the.
Well, that's dedication and motivation. Great character traits that you possess probably from a long time back. And that's, you're really kind of a great example to the rest of the injured and wounded that, there is life after injury and after service. When we say veterans never stop serving, what we mean is that when you come home, you get your education, do whatever, you get into that job and you still volunteer in your community, you're helping other veterans, you're helping people. And the job that you have, although tough, you are helping people. And that's amazing to us at Sentinels of Freedom is we almost have 700 of you out there. Most of them are graduates now. But we get new ones every year and let's start the process back where you started. And I think it was the CARE Coalition that contacted us about you and talked about the HERO program. And we said, all right, we're in, let's do it. I think we helped about 20 wounded veterans get into the HERO program and they've all done well. They've all moved on to great jobs. And that was a kind of a starting point for a lot of them.
Yeah, it's a great program. I knew about it when I was on my way transitioning out back in 2013, and because of my injuries and some of the things that happened to me afterwards, I got divorced after I retired out of the military, and so I kind of had to get some things back in order before I could reapply for the program, and so I stayed as a consultant with a bunch of guys that I had from work, and we were able to continue serving by training, teaching our special operations in the military, as well as law enforcement, federal and local as well.
Right.
That was really powerful for me but I just couldn't walk up and down a range for the rest of my life. I had to find a forever job. And, I knew that I had to find a mission that I could stay focused on. This Hero Corps program is exactly that. So a lot of people don't know about it, but it's a great opportunity that ICE has provided to veterans that have been injured to be able to provide services back to the people. And it's a great mission. And it's a year-long internship, which is now paid. It wasn't when you guys helped me out.
Right.
So I was able to go to Charlotte and spend the rest of after my 11 weeks of training with ICE doing this counter child exploitation. Digital forensics is what I do, primarily doing cell phones and computers. They teach you that skill and then you get a place of your choosing that is offering the services of mentorship. And I chose Charlotte, or actually they chose it for me, because at the time I had a 5-year-old who was here in Fayetteville, North Carolina with his mom, and I needed to be close to him. And that's always been the plan since I've gotten out.
Yeah, good for you. I'm really happy you stayed close and you still stay close with your son. You talked about some of the challenges in your transition. You had a plan where you kind of eased into that transition. It wasn't a shockwave that hit you. You're a good family guy, and all of those, character traits that you possess, again, helping others all the way along. It's amazing that you guys continue to do that. And I think it speaks well for the military experience. It speaks well for the fact that, again, there is life after injury and after service, and that you have a valuable career that supports a lot of people. I always tell you guys, we're all extremely proud of you. Our organization, the people that help us fund the organization, we're willing to invest in you. We do a lot, but we don't do it all. And you carry 99% of the water, the heavy water. We just try to help where we can. And, you've done a lot in your life so far. I always tell you guys, you've done more than most people ever do in their lives at the point you are now, and you're continuing that. And another lesson of what you learned in your career in the Army, those valuable character traits. It's not something you find in corporations out there. That kind of trading, that kind of brotherhood. I'm sure you still stay connected with a lot of your buddies in the units that you were in. And that's important too. And it's a lot easier today because of Zoom and FaceTime and all the other myriad of programs that allow you guys to communicate. So you don't lose that connection, and that's important. I mean, it's still very important to it's kind of, your military service was maybe the cornerstone of your career, and you're still building it out. But that's where you really got your start. So, it's going to be interesting to see when we talk again, maybe in a year or two. Of course, you can always call me anytime. And also, if you have one of your friends that you want to send our way that you think is got the same drive, determination, and motivation that you do, we're always looking for those individuals. Thank God we don't have as many incoming to the military hospitals anymore, but we all know that can change overnight. And we got our toes in a couple of muddy spots right now, and hope they don't, matriculate into full-blown war again. Who knows? But it'll be interesting to see your future accomplishments and what you've done in just a short period of time. So again, very proud of you. Proud to have been a small part of your success. You carried all the water. So thank you. We hope you enjoyed today's podcast with Sergeant Major Yeri, and hope you'll come back and listen to more and spread the word and send it to your friends, the podcast to your friends and your network. Thank you all for your support of Sentinels of Freedom and the veterans we serve. Your support helps our nation meet its responsibility and helps these veterans to our table of opportunity and abundance in this nation. They've certainly earned that. So until next week, this is Mike Conklin and Chuck Yeri signing off. Thank you.